Gear up, scooter fam. Today I thought I'd do a comparison video. I like doing these videos. Um, and I had a viewer ask if I would do something a little bit on the lower price. A bit something on the lower price. So I decided to do a comparison video of the Inmotion Climber and my favorite, the Hover-1 Journey Max. They're fairly comparable in price, a couple $100 difference, and right now they're both on sale during Black Friday for a really good price. So I thought I'd compare them head to head, see how they stack up against each other. The Climber is, a little bit better in a few different ways, and that's why it's a couple $100 more expensive. But they're a lot more alike than you might think. So let me go ahead and get into it. So to start off, the Inmotion Climber is $599, and the Hover-1 Journey Max is $391 on Amazon. So, like I said, a couple $100. Both of those are great prices for the scooters. I have seen the Inmotion Climber at $999 when I first started looking at it. It was even interesting back then. It went to $699, which I thought was a really good deal. And then $599, I just think it's a steal. As far as the Journey Max, I bought mine at $440 something plus tax. Ended up paying just at $500 or just under, including tax, and it was free shipping. So just barely under $500 for the Journey Max, and that's a deal. For up to $500 plus tax, I think is worth it. Anything under that, you're getting a good deal. Under $400 is a great deal for the Journey Max. It's definitely worth your time, and worth $391. Let's go on to some more features. The Inmotion Climber has 10-inch tubed tires with split rims, whereas the Journey Max has 8.5-inch tubed tires. I'm just going to go through these pretty quickly, and then I'll kind of circle back around and talk about the things that I think are most important. The Inmotion Climber has 450 watt dual motors, and the Journey Max has 350 watt dual motors. They both have a top speed of 21 miles per hour. The Inmotion Climber does have a slightly faster 0 to 15 speed at 3.5 seconds, and the Journey Max at 3.8 seconds, which is both really good for the price points, mostly due to their dual motors. And then the range is fairly comparable with the Inmotion Climber at 21 miles, and then the Journey Max at 20. Of course, I've tested the Journey Max. I mean, I didn't test it until it completely ran out, but I lost noticeable acceleration. It was about 18-ish miles. So, and I mean, they're probably very, very similar in that regard. They both have 36 volt batteries, so they're equivalent in that. The Inmotion Climber does have a better IP rating at a 5.6. Sorry, IP56, and which means the water itself rating is a 6, which is almost as high as I've seen. I've seen 7s only on a couple scooters, but 6 is great. So, and then the Journey Max is the IPX4, so no dust rating, but a 4 on the water rating, which is better than no rating at all. But going from 4 to 6 is quite a jump in waterproof rating. So that's something to take into consideration as well. The Inmotion Climber is not UL listed. It doesn't have UL listing certification, and the Journey Max is UL listed. So that's one of the things that also made me really heavily go towards a Journey Max, something that kind of set my mind at ease a little bit, was because it did have UL listing. They both have rear disc brakes and regen brakes, so they're very similar in that. The Inmotion Climber has turn signals, and the Journey Max does not. Neither one of them have apps to use. They're both, everything is done through the display. So yeah, let's go back over and touch on each feature a bit, and talk about how it kind of weighs in my opinion. So to start off, we got 10-inch tires versus tubed tires on a split rim versus 8.5-inch tube tires for the Journey Max. So the Climber, 10-inch tubed split rim tires, and the Journey Max, 8.5-inch tube tires. So both have tubes. That's a big deal. It's a big deal because probably my least favorite thing about the Journey Max is changing the tubes. I've changed tubes on 2 different occasions on 2 different Journey Max scooters that I have, and it sucks. Period. It's no fun. Is it a big deal? At the end of the day, I mean, I went so far as to put a solid tire on the back tire of the Journey Max, because it was really becoming quite stressful and annoying to deal with this tube situation on these non-split rim tires that you got to change out the tubes. Just very difficult. And I popped several tubes. And to be honest with you, at the end of it, my goal was to get a consistent way of changing these tubes, and I really never found that. So it's always just being as careful as you can and crossing your fingers. I mean, I was careful every time, but for some reason I kept popping tubes. So it was a real pain, and you're going to have flats. So no reason to act like you're not going to have flats unless you get solid tires. But the reason I ended up going away from that, even though it was so painful to change the tubes, I ended up removing the solid rear tire because it significantly affected my range at around 25% loss, which wouldn't get me 16 miles of range. It wouldn't get me, I don't even know. It wouldn't make me 2 8-mile trips, which I make easily on the Journey Max with the air-filled tube tires. So it's a big deal. Honestly, it's a pretty big deal. Plus, 10-inch tires are obviously a little, quite a bit better than 8.5-inch tires. That's going to make some difference. So neither one of them have suspension, so getting a little bit extra larger tire is going to make some difference. The Climber has 450 watt dual motors, and the Journey Max has 350 watt dual motors on a difference of 100 watt. And I know there's a recent video by a popular YouTube channel, scooter channel, that says that they're 750 watt nominal, which they're mistaken. It's 450 watt nominal, and I'll post specs right here from Inmotion on their site. So I put this up in a previous video, but it is not, just for clarification, it is not 750 watt nominal. It's 450 watt nominal for each motor, 900 total watts nominal. So, and like I said, it's easy to get confused. The way even here it says dual 750 watt motors with a peak power of 1500 watts. Simply what they mean is dual 1500 watt peak motors that add up to 1500 watts in any case. So yeah, they're both, either way, I mean, it makes more sense, right? You've got one scooter at 450 watts, one at 350 watts. They both have a top speed of 21. They both have a range within 1 mile of each other, and they both have a 0 to 15 within 0.3 miles per hour of each other. So I think it makes sense that it's got 100 more watts. It gets a little bit better 0 to 15. The top speed is identical. The range is nearly identical. They both are 36-volt batteries. They both have roughly the same weight. Um, I think it stands to reason that all these things kind of add up. So in case that was confusing, I just wanted to clear that up. So once again, even though you got 450 watt, 350 watt, top speed is going to be about the same. You're a tad faster, 0 to 15. Range is roughly the same. You're not going to notice a difference in 20 or 21. You're not going to take it down to the last mile anyway. So they both have 36-volt batteries. The waterproof rating for the Inmotion Climber is way better. If you're if it's a scooter that you're going to need to take in the rain, let's say you're taking it to work and back, and you don't have a choice on those days when it rains, you got to go to work. And so getting yourself prepared, getting some rain gear, getting a scooter that can handle the rain is going to be better than getting a scooter that's got a IPX4 rating, which can handle the rain, but it's not a situation that you want to go into knowingly, my opinion. So you can take an IPX4 in light rain, but like I said, to me, I wouldn't intentionally do that. If I got caught in the rain on the way back, not a big deal. I can make it home, but I wouldn't go out of the door with it raining or without knowing it's definitely going to rain before I get back. So I might chance it if it wasn't, I didn't think it was going to be too big of a deal. But in any case, if that's really a concern and you're not just getting a scooter for, fun and whenever you need to use it, then, the Climber is the better buy there. The UL listing is a concern to me. Inmotion is a reputable company, a reputable brand, so I'm not as concerned with Inmotion as I would be with a lesser known brand if they weren't UL listed. So those things matter to me. Once again, I got the Klima. The Klima is not UL listed, but Nami is reputable, and so I'm hopeful that there's no issues with the scooter because of that reason. I expect the same from Inmotion. They're a big company, well-known company, and they're not UL listed. But I would trust that their batteries are safe and that their electrical system won't fry on you. So that being said, I think it's a factor, but with a well-known brand with Inmotion, I don't think it's as much of a factor. They both have rear disc brakes and regen brakes, so that's identical. All right. Those are the major differences between the two scooters. What are my final thoughts on the scooter? So I bought the Journey Max because I didn't know if I was going to really be into scooters. I didn't want to buy another scooter for several $100s or even $1,000 or more dollars just to go put it in a corner somewhere and never use it. So I was going back and forth between an e-bike and a scooter. And so ultimately I decided that I probably would be less likely to throw the scooter in the corner than I would an e-bike. And I still probably think that now. Although, I do find them very useful. In any case, I really like scooters and I really took to them very quickly and really enjoyed riding them. And so eventually I went and got the Nami Klima after a few months or so. But if I were buying the scooter and I already knew like I wanted the scooter and I knew what I wanted the scooter for, I think the Climber is worth the money. Mainly because of one reason and one reason alone, and that's the tires. No kidding. I mean, if I could spend a couple $100 and know that I've got a split rim to change tubes, I would do it. Would I go back and buy the Climber now? No, I've got a Klima. And so, I don't need a Climber. I don't need a Climber. But if you need a scooter like the Journey Max pretty much, I mean, very close to the same specs. You got a little bit bigger tires, they're tubed. You got turn signals, which I do like. Um, you've got a few little features, but the split rims are the selling point for me. All the other stuff, the water resistance, it's like I said, kind of depends on your use case. It is nice to know you don't have to worry about it, so that's good. Um, it's worth $200 more than the Journey Max for sure, but both are great deals. And if uh, water is not waterproofing is not a concern to you, and you don't mind figuring out the tube thing, uh, you know, I think it's a great deal. I think the Journey Max is a great deal. Um, I keep mine. I haven't gotten rid of them yet. They're my backup scooters now. I'm going to ride the Klima much more. Um, but I still like the Journey Maxes. They're super solid, super dependable. I never had the slightest problem out of them. The only problem I ever had out of either scooter was the flats, and you're gonna have flats, but changing on that scooter is, man, it's seriously painful. And I'm decent with scooters. I worked on bikes a lot as a kid, so I'm fairly mechanically inclined, and it's still a big deal. I mean, I've changed all the brakes on the Klima, reseated the rotor correctly. I mean, these things are not that challenging, but changing changing the tube on the Journey Max is painful. So here's a look at the Journey Max. Once again, we've got, it's $391 right now. I don't know how long it's going to be staying at that price, but it is right now. I assume it's going to be a Black Friday deal on Amazon. It just recently dropped, which is why I expect that. But you never know. So if you really like this scooter, it's worth $390 for sure. No question about it. But just be prepared for those tire changes. You're gonna get a flat, and it's gonna suck when you have to change it. Unless you find a secret that I didn't find. I watched so many videos on similar scooters, um, like this with the hub motors, just like these, which don't have split rims. And man, I've seen so many different approaches to it. I tried every single one of them with very little success. I've changed two tubes. I've changed two of them out. The first one, I got really lucky, I suppose, and it was no problem. The second one, I popped multiple tubes trying to get them changed out. Um, but they're very similar. The two scooters are very similar. They use the same basic design, which is like this. I don't know what they call them, like the show me's or something like that. That's where I look to find similar videos where I can see how they do things. The Hover-1s and the show me's, they got that same base, and then it's the same thing that the Hover-1. I mean, they're the same one that the Inmotion Climber has. So from a looks standpoint, I really don't feel like either one really looks a lot better. I mean, the Inmotion's got some color to it. The bigger tires and the orange on the tires and so forth. The latch has got some color in it, but I don't mind just a solid black myself. So, that's neither here nor there for me. They do have a white one. It's $445 at the moment, which is what I paid for my black one. I paid $445. So this says save $46. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, you can get the black one for $391, and it's a great deal. But like I said, if you really want to, spend a couple hundred extra bucks, the Climber is going to be much nicer when you have to change tubes, and you're going to have to change tubes sooner or later. Um, you've got the UL, sorry, you don't have the UL listing, but you have the IP6 rating for water, and and you have the 10-inch tires. You got the turn signals. There's a few things that, you know, are upgrades for sure for the $200. But like I said, the most to me, the 450 watt motors, not a big deal to me. They translate to very similar speeds and range. So I don't think you're going to see much different between those two. That's my final thoughts. If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe, and happy riding.